Hey, I'm Isaac. I'm the developer of the game Ecology, which is in development right now. You can find it on Steam, if you're into that kind of thing. I thought I'd try for the first time ever, really, just showing off some footage, playing around, and talking about some mechanics. I'm really excited about this because I haven't shown off Ecology very much at all. So, yeah, let's get started. In Ecology, you play as an astronaut who's crash landed on a miniature planet, and you have to survive without crashing the miniature ecology that you find there. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, in ecology, basically anything can go extinct, and you can also cause miniature global warming. In Minecraft, you have something like where if you chop down a tree, you have to replant the saplings, otherwise, you're gonna run out of trees. But that's pretty much it. But in ecology, you aren't given a giant world with limitless resources, and if you overharvest any plant or animal, they're gonna go extinct. Plants and animals have their own lives and prerogatives. Each animal is equipped with an AI that has it search out food, search out a mate in order to reproduce. Plants, just like actual real life plants, will fruit when they're in season, and if the player doesn't pick the fruit, they'll drop it and create new plants. So this creates a really interesting system and actually create these sort of food forests where you place a bunch of plants, you clear out the weeds, and you just let them do their own thing. And if you only pick the excess, then you're not going to have to worry about replanting everything all the time. Now, on the flip side, if you overpick plants and you don't bother to replant them or cultivate them or make sure that they're getting enough water, then that plant might go extinct. And that might have far-reaching implications for the rest of your planet's food chain. Eventually, you might find yourself in a world where you can't get valuable materials like cloth or feathers because all of the plants and animals that produce them have gone extinct. Now, when I first started developing ecology, if I told players that they needed to avoid crashing the ecology, they played very conservatively. They didn't like to interact with any of the mechanics. They just wanted to use as few resources as possible. And honestly, that wasn't very fun. So instead, I try to make ecology into a game in which you can play with different, what I call planetary builds. In an RPG game, you have healers or tanks or glass cannons. In ecology, players develop their whole planet as part of their build. They might go for an agricultural planet with huge fields of crops, or an industrial planet with big factories, or they could go for sort of a food forest planet. It's really up to you, and I try to make all of these different playstyles fun and interesting to play through. So I needed to add a couple more mechanics to keep it fresh. I wanted to really give a sci-fi feel. So you're gonna run into things like meteor showers, comets might land on your planet, and all of these different events are going to give the player access to new resources. So, for instance, you can gather the gas ether from comets, which can be used to build things like refrigerators or ice guns. And from meteors, you can smelt thermite ingots, which are used for heat shielding and powerful bullets. As the player enters the mid-game, they're going to start encountering alien merchants who will be willing to trade with them for these valuable resources that they've acquired. Players can buy helixes, which are the base ingredient for crafting new animals, and seeds, which they can use to introduce new plants to their world. Using these new creatures and seeds, the player can terraform new biomes, and each biome is going to have a new event tied to its rotation. So, for instance, if a player acquires shrum trees and the rare mushroom snail and puts them on top of some mushroom grass, they'll create a new mushroom biome. And every once in a while, the mushroom biome will trigger the Spore Storm event, in which magical mushrooms can be collected by the player to be used in various potions and accessories. These biomes are a lot of fun because they add a micro level to managing your ecology, where you're not just concerned about whether or not species are going extinct all across the world, but you're actually concerned with, the 2 banana trees that are keeping your jungle biome alive. And I think players are going to have a lot of fun building these biomes because you can do things like put them inside of, ecodomes, or you can try to combine 2 biomes together You'll have to make sure that the biomes themselves are balanced, that there aren't too many predators in a single area. Otherwise, they might eat the grazers that are important to biomes around them, and you have to make sure there aren't too many grazers or omnivores because they might eat vital crops. So, as the players begin to industrialize and get a grip on the ecological mechanics, they're also going to start finding various crafting stations and power stations that create emissions. The furnace, the steam engine, or the power generator, and these will emit carbon dioxide gas. You can see it floating up right there. Now, this isn't the end of the world, and it definitely doesn't mean that players should avoid using these. It simply means that they need to think about how they're setting up their factories in relation to the environment. Many plants, and especially trees, can absorb carbon dioxide and, in fact, benefit from it, growing faster. Players will have to make sure that they construct their factories and furnaces in areas where there's enough greenery to absorb the emissions. If not, you're going to start throwing your planet's seasonal cycle out of whack. If the player has too many emissions without enough plants to absorb them, they're going to start adding dangerous summer and winter storms to the planet's event rotation that'll destroy their farms and industry. Of course, players could always fortify their farms and industry to solve this issue, but that's its own challenge, and players might find that it's difficult to progress until they take some time to fix their ecology. But it's important to note that in Ecology, players always have a choice. I wanted to create a game in which, if you really wanted to, you could play as an evil mad scientist and totally destroy the ecology of your entire planet. It's just going to come up with unique sort of issues where, you might have trouble getting food, or you might have shortages of organic materials. Likewise, running an entirely ecological build without using power stations at all is possible, but it's going to leave the player defenseless in the face of celestial predators and make it very difficult for them to acquire certain materials that are really important to the later game. But ultimately, it's possible to win the game either way. I'm really excited to see what players do with all these different mechanics. I'm really trying to design a game that inspires creativity, so I'm hoping that, players take full advantage of that. Anyways, yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe this video and watch this next video, which I think should be like a combat demo showing off the bosses. It'll be really fun. I'm pointing at it right now. Woo. YouTube.